We have no sound. Can you unmute us, please?
Sorry, Lacey, we were just waiting until we were set to start.
Okay, thank you.
9:30. Yeah, that's right. Put for my calendar.
I guess it's 10 o'clock. It's loud up there. We get going anyway.
Do you want me to go on TV?
No, there's a ton of people.
You mean? We have to keep this door open, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we could close that door actually, chambers. Maybe they'll get the hint.
Something we can do because we're downstairs and not in that chamber.
So,
We're downstairs. Second floor.
and we got
Hey,
water.
Lisa, can you hear background noise? 'Cause the mixer is still here, so just check and see what it sounds like on Zoom.
I don't hear anything other than you. I don't hear any other noise.
Are you guys good with the noise there? Oh.
Come on, bring the noise.
Right outside the council's door for basically the past 2 hours.
They are. So that.
Freddie, did you see the email from Sarah?
Hello.
All right. There's so there's a couple of changes here as we get going. The first is that the item from Dan has been withdrawn. There's been some questions raised about whether the city is actually eligible for that one.
Okay.
And then John Schultz has rejiggered his a little bit. So we've got this question like where the money is going to come from and other details there. John Tui will fill us in when we get to that part of the program.
Did John Tui send us an email?
Yes.
I did, yeah.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm just like trying
Let's go. We're going with the comptroller's update now.
Okay, I will pass out.
You're going to pass out?
Pass out.
They can't.
The same.
Oh, that's it.
Hopefully not. There's another version about the sales tax. Thank you, Rennie. As I mentioned at the last several meetings, I'm going to continue to update the common council 22 figures until 2023, and you start doing the regular monthly updates. I'm still closing out the 22 numbers. I've updated what I can on the narrative report. Our sales tax collection for 22 are final. We finished at 19 million. 19.02 million, which is $2.77 million over budget. We are, once again, wrapping up 22 figures so far. Everything looks good. And I will have updated figures pretty soon. Our first sales tax collection for 23 was 24% over last year's number. I got a sneak peek at what we're going to get for the second payment. That's positive as well. We didn't have TV yet, but New York State doesn't report to us what that payment will be. So I can see them in advance of the city collecting the money. So that's positive as well. So the first 2 payments for 23, good news continues. I've given you updated balances on some of the revenues as we collected for the year. Mortgage tax came in at $999,000, so $414,000 over budget. Gross receipts tax finished over by $57,000. Parking revenue was positive. Building permit fees were positive. Interest revenue was positive. As I mentioned, throughout the year. The expenses were, we had a lot of pressure and stresses on expenses, so that did offset a lot of the overages on the revenue side. The council, we elected to pay down some debt. We used some money to pay for paving. We also settled the Army unit contract. So there were some, offsets on the expense side. So all in all, the 2022 still looks favorable. Not necessarily the extent of some more recent years were, but that's part of the council's plan on fund balance. So if you have any questions, I think you can holler or send me an email and I'll do my best to get back to you.
Parking violation means tickets given for
Tickets.
staying too long in the meter. Good, thank you. All right, keep that going.
You're trying.
Bye. BUI.
Yeah, I was like,
No,
okay, I'm
you
waiting, jeez.
BUI. All right, good. So as noted before, we're skipping over item number 2, healthcare mental hygiene with the bonus program. While Ruth Ann looks into making sure we are in fact eligible for this grant. So that takes us to number 3, the Midtown Brownfield Opportunity Area Designation Grant. At the very least, this needs to have a different name. Bartek,
It does have a different official name. It's called Midtown Thriving. This is just the grant name.
yeah,
Apologies for that.
doesn't sound like, hey, come here and make a brownfield.
So this one should be fairly simple. The city of Kingston did receive a grant from the New York, from the New York State Department of State, in the amount of $230,000. The grant requires a 10% match. This resolution just clarifies that that match would be via my time, rather than an actual financial contribution that the city makes.
I do believe, though, you will have to submit a committee report for your time, even though it's not money. Am I right on that, John?
There is a let's see, the committee report says resolution of the common council of the city of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds via force account for the Midtown and Brownfield Opportunity Area Designation Grant from the New York State Department of State. Bartek, you explained to me just a little while ago that there's no funds expended from the city of Kingston on this grant, correct?
That's correct. So the total match that the city is providing here is $26,507. That is via my time.
Okay, so we don't need another committee report.
I think you're fine with this because this is authorizing expending that force account.
Okay, and then in that case, the estimated financial impact is 0 in the sense that we won't be spending any of the monies for this, since it's just your time, as it were, which is incorporated already in the green budget via your salary. Okay, great. All right. Can you tell us a little more about what this is? What is a brownfield nomination study?
Yeah, so it's a 2-year study, and it will be via partnership with Patent for Progress. And they've identified, a boundary for the Midtown. And the goal is to identify specific sites in need of redevelopment, and then go through a process with identifying steps that the city and other stakeholders could take to actually developing those sites. Now, the advantage of having this study is that it then opens up potential developers, giving them access to tax credits that they currently do not have access to. And of course, Pattern and working closely with myself, we'll be developing a community input process throughout the 2 years, including setting up a project advisory committee.
But so the brownfields part here, is this looking specifically at areas of the city that have in the past or are currently deeply polluted?
Not necessarily. It could also be looking at underutilized vacant sites, but it will be taking especially close look at some of the polluted sites that we have in town.
And is it a certain location in Midtown that?
There is there is a geographic area. Yes, it's a little bit broader. It goes sort of to Fox Hall and then around Broadway, so it's a little bit broader.
Okay, could you see?
I'm gonna show it to you.
What's that?
Part of
Alan.
that.
That's an excuse to go get more than a year. All right, any questions for Bartek on this?
Yeah, he's.
He's looking at the-
I want to see where this area
Yeah.
really is located.
The area that's.
In the street, over to, okay. Here, 2 so this is the area that really going to pay a lot of attention to. All right.
Yeah, Steve.
You all done? No?
Yes, I'm done with it. Yeah, yes, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Is this going to target any specific, which, how should I say, type of area, like areas that might be developed or around residential areas? Is there any, or is it just going to be open?
Well, we've identified like the geographic area, which I can show you here, the of Midtown that we're focusing on, so we have entire area, looking at that area, that entire.
So everything in there.
Your response.
Yeah.
So Broadway to Foxhall and as far up west, far off, turn for the traffic, as far down as well. Right.
As,
Yeah, guys.
almost a summer.
Sorry, okay.
So, Steve, well done. I might have missed what Steve asked, but, what type of, so is this just a study to find out what kind of housing we can put on these?
No, it's sort of like a state process where we have to do a pre-nomination study, right? And then we submitted for funding to complete now the actual brownfield opportunity area plan, official plan. And that plan is going to look at some of the underutilized polluted sites in Midtown. And will basically give a list of strategies that the city and other stakeholders can take to ensure that there's cleanup and redevelopment of those areas.
So strategies.
So it won't necessarily say, oh yeah, build this type of housing here. It won't be that specific. It'll be more like here are the strategies the city can take to ensure that redevelopment of these sites actually happens.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
All right. Then do we have a motion to discuss?
Motion
Mike Barbieri, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? The changing the name of this thing?
What'd you say it was Midtown?
Right.
Yeah, so the
Friday.
yes.
Community vision to bylaws.
That's right.
Just
No,
Brown.
Are you happy with that?
From brownfields to green pastures.
Yeah.
Is that a John Denver song?
Rocky Mountain High. All right, then hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? The resolution reads, resolution common council of the city of Kingston, New York, authorizing the mayor to expend funds via force account for the Midtown Brownfield Opportunity Area Designation Grant from the NYS Department of State. Force account basically means that we will be, that incorporates the match from the city as Bartek's salary as opposed to our dollar. There we go.
It's my time.
Your time, okay.
Let's see, I'm afraid Bartek, I'm going to leave you till the end so that we can discuss the disposition policy then. in case people have some more discussion or what have you. But I think we can go through the other stuff fairly quickly. All right, so the next item is regarding replacing the equipment at the wastewater treatment facility. And I believe General Winchell is here to tell us what's up with that.
Speaking of brownfields.
Steve.
How long have I been waiting to use that?
Completely different.
Hey.
All right. You need new equipment.
Yes, so we're looking at a dump truck and a Bobcat.
And can you explain what a Bobcat is for those who don't know?
It's a small loader that we're gonna use down at the plant. We have two of the pieces of equipment are from the eighties, so they're both very old.
1880s or?
1980s, so both of them are very old and we're looking to replace them. The dump truck we actually did back when Mike Shunk was here, and we refurbished one of the city trucks. So we're looking to replace that. All grid out to Ulster, or way out to New Paltz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions for Alan on that? Tony, good.
So you didn't anticipate, this wasn't put on the, I call it the Christmas gift at, capital projects?
We didn't, it's not on the capital plan. It was originally in the budget. The problem is with it in the budget, it would have increased the rate of the sewer rate.
Okay.
And so the idea here is instead, it's going to be paid for through fund balance. So that instead of, borrowing money or what have you, or having it in the capital plan, this is what we talked about back a while ago.
Okay.
Okay? So it's also another way of bringing down our fund balance, which again is too high, which is a great problem.
Yeah.
Are you still using the old ones? Are they still running? What are your plans, Steve?
Well, we're gonna have to decommission the dump truck because, and they're all, both of them are like a year out, Steve, to get, it's hard to get equipment right now, so. Actually, it's Winnie from the garage called to see if we were putting this on the agenda. Because,
The decommissioned, I like that.
yeah, from the eighties, there isn't too much equipment left in the city from the eighties.
Okay.
I'm from the 80s. So are these estimates fairly recent?
Yes, and there's a 15% on top of that for any extras. Yeah.
What do you mean decommissioning, so you can't sell it, it's no good?
I don't know what they're gonna do, that's not me to do, that will be Ed and.
I wasn't sure because of the
Both
contamination.
Ed Sweeney and Ed Norman to make that decision once we get the equipment. But
They usually sell parts or sell it, right? I mean,
you'll sell it as a whole. They'll probably keep the Bobcat, but the truck is not roadworthy too much.
And this is a year out that you're not gonna get them? Is that what you're projecting?
Once you put the order in, it'll be close to a year to get it.
But this, you think this will be equipment here that'll be last that long? You're gonna still utilize the dump truck, okay?
Yeah.
Other questions?
What's a dump truck now? Just
In that case, motion to discuss, over the Erie and Tony Davis seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Sorry, I didn't hear what it was, the amount, that's all. We never read it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll read it out. Yes, description. The wastewater treatment facility is seeking authorization to utilize the city's sewer fund balance to replace two pieces of aging out equipment, namely a 1986 International dump truck and a 1989 Bobcat. The financial impact for these two purchases would be $225,000. Note the amount reflects a 15% contingency added to both purchases. So it's possible that we will not be spending the entire amount there.
At 225,000?
Yeah.
For both? Okay, all right, thank you, that's why.
We use the Bobcat too for snow removal down on the parking lots downtown. Because we take care of the three parking lots down by Mariners, behind Mariners. So we're gonna use that. We're also buying a push blade for that. Ed has to have a blade put on that to help with snow removal.
Yes.
You already have, no, you're.
No,
It's
that's
just
something.
a balance up here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so hearing no more discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. John, we have to do a little addition there, then they can bring it around. Thank you, sir. We
All right,
appreciate
I'm
it.
gonna stay with John because John's bringing something up about
Okay.
study.
All right, he's nervous about it? You need to.
No,
He needs his background. We need some more work down there.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say that's
I
not.
don't know if it's from the eighties, but
All right,
it's service.
Jackie, are you here?
Hmm?
Are you here?
I'm here.
All right, have a seat with us, please. The next item here. Oh, yeah. The next item is the budget transfer from civil service. Those of you who are watching at home, this is page 35 of the budget. Looks like the fiscal impact will be $6,970. What's it about? $6,970. What's it about, Jack?
So it was just to clean up my 2022 budget. So I'm moving some funds around just to cover those that were over. But the reason for taking from contingency is because we had, an employee in my office was promoted in April to Parks and Rec. And I think in the original budget, that wasn't expected to be filled until maybe August. So they took money from my budget to cover Parks and Rec. Thought we could manage without that person, but because of Kronos and that startup, we were really getting it hard, so we ended up going it sooner than later. And then kind of forgot about it, so now we're making up for it. That's it.
Okay. Any questions for Jack? Oh,
Sorry.
motion to discuss by Steve Shabbat and seconded by Michael Livieri. Is there any discussion? All right, so we're going to be clear that this is transfer to bring accounts in order, but it is going to require $6,970 from contingency. Okay?
Yeah, and just to clarify, Rennie, we did pull $12,500 out of her account in regular pay earlier in the year, so we're actually gonna take less out of contingency to cover, so.
Okay. All right. Is there any discussion then? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Jackie. And thank you for that civil presentation. All right. Anyway, John Schulteis,
Yes,
can you join us now regarding Headworks?
and I
Wastewater
have
treatment.
corrected, I sent you an email, these are the corrected committee reports.
Okay, the same as you got, John.
Yeah, I just right in one account for,
This is,
this one here, just wrote an account.
what are we doing, head work first? I'm assuming? Yeah.
What's that, the agenda?
Yeah, head works.
But this is for this one.
That one is for the Headworks,
Yep,
yeah, which is the one that starts with the resolution 32 of 2020. Yeah, those two, yeah, and then that one's separate.
All right. All right. So, John.
yes, I can give you a little background on this.
Please do.
If you like, okay, so, the Environmental Facilities Corporation, is involved in a lot of the larger projects at the wastewater treatment plant. In this case, it's often a two-step process where the first thing we do is under what their program called an environmental planning grant. This funds preliminary design and results in what we call the engineering report. That can then be used in a future year, like I'm hoping a year from now, to apply for the actual construction funds. But the value of this grant well, there's two tonight, but the Headworks one has a grant value of $50,000. And we're asking tonight to transfer $12,500 from fund balance to serve as a match to that. And in addition, this project has a total project cost of $162,500. The remaining $100,000 is in the city's ARPA plan already. So their request tonight is to authorize the mayor to execute the contracts and agreements and fund transfer an amount of $12,500 from fund balance to a capital project account that John's created.
Great. Good.
Just for clarification, I don't know if I'm looking at the old report, but it says bonding.
Right,
That's,
so we're
that's the
gonna
old
replace, we're gonna replace that
That's-
bonding
okay.
with, available cash,
Yeah.
basically, that we have.
Okay.
yeah, and the headworks at the plant, you know, and Bud Allen stuck around. He took me on a tour of it recently. It's got a number of operational problems, old equipment, bar racks that don't work properly, grit removal happens there. So this is an important project to keep the plant reliable. It helps avoid things like the plant upsets that can get us in trouble with DEC. So we think, you know, from a reliability point of view, this is an important set of projects for the plant.
Sure, yes.
If I can enlighten a little bit, it was built in the 70s. So it's time to take a good look at this and see what options we have with this. There's only one channel coming in. There should be a redundant channel. If something were to happen to the piece of equipment up there, we're trying to fix the fault flows going through it, a lot of material go through. It's hard to, but it was done in the 70s. And I've been talking with John about having somebody come in and take a look at it and see what we can do with it. You know, equipment from the 80s is old. Yeah.
So
It is, it really is.
It was done in the 70s, that means it's all in green.
Orange.
Okay.
I just wanted to get more of an explanation of this headworks.
Right, yeah.
Is that,
So
is that the?
That's the beginning of the plant.
right, yeah, so it's,
Right where it comes in.
Yeah.
I can speak. I mean, it's right where everything, the whole flow of the plant comes into the headworks.
Okay.
So we have a bar screen there. That was replaced, like 17 years ago. But, we're looking to get ideas and see what can be done. We need to
Okay.
modernize it.
That's not the top one we see at the top. When
No,
we
it's not.
see the- Okay.
Right across from Old Savannah.
All right.
Basically is where everything comes in,
Okay,
where the front gate is there.
all right.
And we're running out of room. We don't have a lot of room to expand. So this is why I've been talking about this with John to see what our options are.
Thank you.
It's not a mandated study, right?
no, not at this time. It's kind of trying to be a little proactive and not wait for an emergency.
Not wait for a consent order.
Yeah.
DC would put a consent order on us to do something. We're not at that point yet. So, but it's time to take a look at this. You know, the plan's gonna say where it is. We're putting good money into it.
Yeah.
So we feel that at this time, we should be looking at the beginning of the plan.
Right. Yeah, so this results in a study which, in order to apply for the funds needed to actually construct this, we'll have to have that study in hand. So EFC recognizes, you know, the 50,000 grant gets us ready to apply for a much larger grant to actually build something. That's how we've historically done the larger projects at the treatment plant.
Okay.
Just through that process.
Good. So any more questions for John there? All right, the report reads, previous resolution 132 of 2022 authorized the application. Now we request the common council authorize the project, authorize the mayor to execute agreements and contracts, authorize funding in the amount of $12,500. Project will consist of evaluation of the wastewater treatment plant headworks, planning and preliminary design upgrades for replacement of the headworks and produce an engineering report meeting city and NYS EFC requirements. Total project cost is estimated at $160,500. $1,000 from the NYSE EFC grant, $100,000 from ARPA funds, and $12,500 from transfer from fund balance. So the estimated financial impact to the city will be $12,500. Do we have a motion to discuss? Michael Leary, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Yep, because we will keep that stuff at bay. Hearing no discussion, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You all, please keep those two sheets together there. So will this one also go to financial report?
This one is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what's the second one here, John, about the pump station?
Okay, yeah, so the next one is a similar, we also got another 50,000 grant awarded from EFC, this time to study pump stations and the collection systems. This is not at the plant, but spread throughout the city are 18 sewer pump stations.
How many?
Yeah, 18, yeah. And again, they're also they're in various ages. Some were rehabbed within the 80s, 90s timeframe. Some are older than that. This will produce an engineering report prioritizing those, and again, getting us ready to make an application to EFC in a future year to, in all likelihood, replace some of those older pump stations.
With newer technology that they have today.
So in this case, there's actually no funding needed here because the minimum match is already in the ARPA plan. However, tonight we're asking you to authorize the mayor to execute the agreements and contracts.
So there's zero, no financial impact.
That's right.
So this is, just the language of this, the need for various upgrades has been identified. It's just the overall, you need to update it, so this study would then more
Get more
specific.
specific, yes.
So it may not be that all 18.
Oh, yeah, no, we won't do all 18.
You are going, the study
Right.
will look at all 18.
Yeah.
Then identify which ones.
And we think there's, yeah, exactly. So from a resiliency point of view, some of the pump stations have backup generators, some don't. Some are subject to flooding. You know, Alan we're going to interview Alan and his staff about the maintenance experience of different ones. Some fail, have pump failures more often than others. Some need controls updates. Those kinds of things would be in the study.
The resolution reads, previous resolution 136 of 2022 authorized the application. We now request common council to authorize the project, authorize the mayor to execute agreements and contract. The project will consist of evaluation of sewer pump stations, planning and preliminary design of upgrades or replacement to the end. Replacement to and replacement
of the pump stations. Yeah, sorry.
replacement.
Typo. You change that now.
No, we passed it.
Mm-hmm.
Change it.
Of the pump station and produce an engineering report meeting city and NYSEFC requirements. The total project cost is estimated at $62,500, with $50,000 from the NYSEFC grant, and $12,500 in ARPA funds. Estimated financial impact is $0. Motion discussed. Mike Livieri, second by Steve Shabbat. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? You win.
Great, thanks.
Sitting here.
Steve. Steve.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all.
See you in December.
Clean wins. Online. Republicans.
I just found that.
I am.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, I can't see that. Oh.
Well,
We get old business.
we're going to talk about the code issue now.
Okay.
You want to join us at the table?
Should we wait for Andrea to come back in?
I'm thinking by the time we get that into the table, we'll be back in.
I mean, I'm,
Unless you're comfortable there.
yeah, I don't, unless someone can't hear me, I don't know if I need to
We're good.
do that.
She didn't ask to be excused, so I'm gonna say
She's not on that committee, even the years ago, committee members are here.
Technically,
Can't see my
all right, so, if you remember, Noe Del Cid came to us,
Yes.
Marco last, session. And they were requesting that we remove a lien due to, a water leak issue of property that they had obtained from the city. And so Marissa is here to let us know what the upshot of that issue is.
So the short answer is that our office believes that the council does have the authority to remove the lien as requested. If we want to get into any further details on that, we would need to go into attorney-client session.
I don't believe I was present, I think this might happen, but I was out. I don't recall this.
Yeah, the city or Rumco brought properties from the city. They were in the process of rehabbing, they were attempting to rehab it, and they found that the city still said these properties owe money from water bills. So what we're basically saying is we're gonna forego what's owed. So Rumco can go ahead
And that amount was, a low couple thousand?
well, one was 8,000, one was, I think, $240.
Less than. Okay, so,
I don't even go over that, and, thanks for the clarity, thanks for the updated information.
Question I would, sorry.
Do we have to go over this?
well, you can ask the question, is it of Marissa or?
No, I guess it's not.
Okay. So I mean, the basic issue is we're working with them to produce low income housing. And that's what this, in essence, that's what this issue is. So they go forward. All right. So, okay. So, actually,
We need a committee report, please.
we need a committee report for it.
So this is basically saying the common council has authority to remove these. That's right, I just want to go for my notes, these leads.
Okay. Do you have a question in the meantime? Or just in general?
Do you have any committee report?
Sitting and waiting.
Oh, that's okay. You have the right one.
This may be even, you don't have a committee report, so we're good. But, Bartek, I have a question maybe you can answer. Is there something we can do moving forward to prevent like a situation like this from happening, or?
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
And yes.
Okay. I'm good with that, thank you.
Yeah.
How much is this?
If we want to
Less
go
than
into
9,000.
any further
Total.
detail beyond, yes, we can do it. We would have to go into attorney-client.
Like I said, one is 8 and change, one is 240.
What was it?
Give me a second.
That sounds more.
$8,021.96 is one.
Say it again?
$8,021.96.
Okay.
And the other one is $240.76.
Is that the financial?
Thank you.
It's on paper, it's not.
Well, it's actually, you mean one back to zero?
Yeah.
I think honestly, I should interrupt there and say that if we do want to discuss that, we probably should go into attorney-client.
Okay, I'm afraid we need to go into attorney-client session here.
All right.
No, we don't need a motion.
We don't, yeah.
So we just got to stop that, so let everybody know that we're going to attorney.
Yep, going into attorney-client session, we'll be back.
Nobody gonna allow. Bartek.
All right, we're back, Elissa. All right, so
Thank you.
the committee report reads, to remove City of Kingston liens on 2 formerly city-owned properties as follows: 232 Ellendorf Street, $8,021.96. 50 Crane Street, $240.76. Estimated financial impact between 0 up to $8,262.72. We have a motion to discuss. Tony Davis, second by Michael Olivieri. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you for that. Appreciate
It's
it.
a disposition policy.
So the last item on our agenda is the disposition policy. Welcome back, Bartek. Sorry to keep you through the whole meeting here. I just want to remind people, we've been looking at this for a while. We looked into a lot of questions. Bartek answered all the questions that I collated and developed from our discussions and so forth. Has everybody had a chance to see that? Who's interested in seeing that? Does anybody have any questions relating to the answers that Bartek gave?
So,
Hey, Lisa, could you give me permission to share my screen, please? If you're there.
I'm here. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to know. Just what was the date of it?
Like February 6th.
Six.
You should be all set.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there are 2 things that Bartek sent. I think, Tony, you're looking at mine. One was the whole list of questions that we had, and Bartek gave responses in red. Right? Some wonderfully detailed answers there, all right? And then from that, he crafted the specific answers that relate to the disposition policy itself. So one of the crucial things is adding at its head the purpose there. So that is a new item. Okay. Purpose, which reads, the purpose of this disposition policy is to ensure the City of Kingston follows a standardized and transparent procedure for the sale of city-owned surplus property. It seeks to encourage the timely redevelopment of city-owned buildings and land, bring city-owned building and land back on the tax roll, and encourage the development of affordable rental and home ownership housing opportunities. So some of the crucial words in there or phrases are timely redevelopment, timely suggesting that we would like this process to go as quickly as possible, which includes the administration, city, the council here, and the land bank. And the other one there is affordable, with that emphasis. So there was some concern too in terms of the tiers. Bartek has explained that those tiers are based on numbers that are in state policy, right? So that's why those various tiers are set at those particular numbers. Another crucial thing is that it reemphasizes and clarifies, makes clear that this does not overcome any of the Common Council's state authorized power to convey city properties. And then another crucial thing is
If I may, one other crucial edit to the disposition policy itself is that when the administration is creating any kind of RFP or similar process to solicit proposals on any surplus property, the city has to notify the Finance and Audit Committee of the intent to issue such an RFP, provide the committee with at least 10 business days to provide comments on the RFP, and also request that a member of the Finance and Audit Committee serve on the evaluation committee. Again, it doesn't say that the committee could choose not to serve on the evaluation committee, but the city administration must request that the police give the committee an opportunity. And then also that the city share all of the non-winning proposals with the finance and audit committee as well. So it has, the full suite of information available when making a decision about selling any piece of surplus property.
Great. And so in the answers, this is not specifically included in the disposition policy, but the crucial thing, one of the concerns was looking at those different levels of AMI. There was a concern, what would happen if the land bank tried to sell all the properties at the very highest price they could? And Bartek points out, number one, that runs against their own policy as required by the state authorizing agencies. Plus, if we don't like the way they are disposing of properties, we have the power to refuse to convey properties to them in the future. So that's the main stick, if you will, that we have in working with the land bank if we're concerned with any policy directions that they take or seem to go not according to our desires in terms of how they're selling their properties and to whom they're selling them. All right. So I think it's a better policy now from our common council perspective. I greatly appreciate all the work you put into this, Bartek, and all the line. I know it took a while. So I appreciate your patience on that. Anybody have any more general comments here or questions for Bartek? Yeah, Tony.
Bartek, was that all that you wanted to show on here? And I didn't know if you had any.
No, that's it.
All right, just these two pages, because I still didn't see that any changes to the AMI or any other language that, and Randy was just mentioning, that's all, that wasn't sure if it was on.
Well, there's no changes there because what Bartek explained is that those numbers, those weren't just like gotten out of the air. They're related to, what's the specific policy?
Right, there these AMI levels, the tiers, they're related to specific funds that the land bank can obtain via state funding and state financing. So for instance, the current program that the land bank is receiving state funding from, the Legacy Cities program, it funds end user households at 80% AMI or below, right? That's tier one. It doesn't, for instance, fund 50% AMI or below, right? Okay. So that's why that's
okay. That's why there's nothing in
so it's aligned with the funding that the land bank can reasonably obtain for its projects.
Okay.
Right. So the crucial thing, at least for me, is that there's a clear rationale for those numbers, right? For those tiers. And that's not, if you don't happen to know about these levels, it's not immediately clear about why those particular tiers were developed. Okay. Other questions?
I appreciate your feedback, getting back to it just very quickly and Rennie's questions, or mostly Rennie's questions and some of, or so I appreciate you getting back and fast and coming up with some new verbiage and this disposition policy. So thank you. Good job.
Michelle.
I just want to say thank you as well, and I really appreciate, the council and the, finance committee being pulled into the actual process. And I just know I feel a lot more comfortable about this.
And thanks to you for all your hard work.
Yeah.
I know you're doing a lot of time researching and effort on your part, so on behalf of all of us, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
And
it wasn't a jab.
Who knew this was gonna be so difficult?
Well, but I mean, without referencing last night completely, it's much better for me, I feel, when we've got the time to actually look at these things and ask questions. I know it can be frustrating because it takes time, but at the same time, I think that we've got some things that we really appreciate having while the initial spirit is still there, right? So, wish we had longer for that issue last night. Anyway,
Good time.
All right, so any other questions for Bartek on
I
this?
just want to say, and I mentioned this a few months ago when we first introduced this disposition policy, but this is a big step forward for the city because it means we have a guiding plan for what to do with our surplus properties. And it's really important to prevent situations where things are laying around idle for a long time.
It'd be great that we're getting caught up and.
Yes, there's
Yeah,
a caught
the
up
gap,
period still,
and- yeah.
but
Yes.
Is this something that has to go back now to, back to before?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, this never made it to the floor. This, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, this has
come
just
out.
been in committee.
Oh, it's never even went, it was
Yeah, we
set back
never-
to
no.
the table or went back. All right, so it's a committee report, that no financial impact. Right?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah. Actually, do you have a committee report for this, Bartek?
I'll be prepared.
I can get a blank one if you need.
I have a blank opinion.
Oh. If you hear the main
I
one.
thought you had one written up, though. Is that the one you gave?
No, the one you gave was already written down.
You wanna, Bartek, you wanna write it up?
Sure.
What is that?
Also, I want to clarify too, that some of the questions that we had, some of the questions that we had are actually questions that we should direct to the land bank. Because they relate to things like their bylaws, their policies and so forth. So if folks have other questions or concerns on that sort, if you'll let me know, we can pursue those if you want.
Oh, yeah, all Bartek is doing is telling me I got gold stars tonight. I got a voucher, but we need one more. That file. Michelle signs, Steve signs, good sign.
My
So
arms hurt.
pass them around.
I'm sort of that reason.
My pen's
I'll
not.
put them all box, I'm like, it's more. Andrew's going, I didn't.
Lots of never end.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Magic.
I'll bring this down to you anyway, bring this to the chair. Or take this one.
We used to sit around this table and talk to people who wanted the buildings. Ask them what they were doing with it.
Yeah, there's some awkward conversations.
Then we'll discuss it in here. The room's going to start getting messy.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have been asking what questions we asked. So it's just basically, what are you gonna do with the building?
It's like an interview process.
Got new chair and you're gonna check up this room.
Yeah, I personally am super glad we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Behind the screen.
Yeah. So it's still in the way box for.
All right. Do we have a motion to discuss? Michael Livieri, second by Tony Davis. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Anyone opposed? It reads, adopting a policy for disposition of surplus city-owned property acquired through the tax foreclosure process as attached. All right, passes unanimously. Anyone opposed? Did I say that already? Passes unanimously. With that, we can call for a motion to adjourn. Michael Leary, second by Michelle Hirsch. All in favor?
Thanks, Elisa. Good night.
Thank you.